Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Motivational Mornings. It's lovely to see you all. I hope you're having a good Tuesday so far. It's been a while since we've been in isolation now, and we want to keep you motivated with good and creative things to do for mind and spirit. So this morning is our book Artist of the Day, and we're going to look at a book, and today we're looking at Hundertwasser. So excuse my pronunciation for those German speakers out there. So Hundertwasser was an artist who was born in Vienna. I'll hold up the book because you can get an idea of his work straight away. He was an ecologist, an architect and an artist. Often artists don't fall into distinct categories if they overlap into doing design for buildings. And he's one of my most favourite artists. I discovered Hundertwasser when I was at college in Carmel College near St Helens. I'm over towards the Mersey. But now I live in Long Eaton, which is a bit inland for me, but anyway, that's by and by. So I first discovered him in the college library when I was doing textiles. So I did textiles and graphic design at college, and I was looking for someone who was an artist to inspire some of the textiles I produced. And having a look at Hundertwasser today helped me to dig out some of the textiles that we did as part of the course. So I'll show you those very briefly before we dig in. So these are my Hundertwasser inspired textiles. So this one I did in felt and stitch. And as we see, you'll see how that's been inspired as we look through his work. And then I did a bigger piece that I've just gone and got up from from downstairs, which is a bigger textile piece that was Hundertwasser inspired. That he layers colours in a really interesting, unusual way. So I tried to recreate that when I was producing textiles in my class. So there we go, there's a little bit of my work, but we're more interested in his work. But at the end of this morning, we're going to do our own inspired work with colour and card on whatever materials you've got around the house. We're going to do some work around Hundertwasser. So I thought I'd do a short introduction about him. So he changed his name from Friedrich Stowwasser to Friedensreich Hundertwasser, which means Hundertwasser means 100 and water. He changed his name, and let's have a look what his other name. Friedensreich is a double meaning word which means peace rich and peace kingdom. Let's have a look at the notes I've got. What did he do? He was born in Vienna in 1928. Vienna's in Austria. He was a Jew, and during the war, him and his family pretended to be a Christian family in order to not get taken to concentration camps and get into trouble. So he had to hide, and so he survived, and he studied, he even at one point was in Hitler Youth. And I know someone as well that was in Hitler Youth. It was more like a youth club if you lived in Austria at that time. It was like Girls' Brigade or Boys' Brigade. But looking back at Hitler's intentions now, it's quite shocking how he trained up people in Hitler Youth. Obviously, Hundertwasser wasn't in that category. He went off to do his own work. So he was from Austria, but he had dual citizenship with New Zealand. He lived in New Zealand for a long time as well. So I've been marking some pages to show you a bit, and this is one of those lovely, I don't know how to say it, Taschen books, the art books. They produce some really affordable, lovely art stuff. Oh, morning, Marie. It's nice to see you. I thought of you, Marie, when I was getting this book out. Marie Hegarty, who's just joined the group, is one of our artists that does workshops for us at Artcore. And she's always brightly coloured. All of her collages are brightly coloured, and she's a very beautiful, colourful person. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy this. So Hundertwasser, let's have a look at what he's about. I'll give you a flick through. There's a self-portrait of him. Oh, there's a portrait of him there. That's him in older life, working on some, I think that's an architectural design. But he was a handsome young man. There he is. He did a self-portrait. I don't think it does him justice, actually. But that's him in his youth. And he did more, that's quite a traditional piece of him. He looked at how buildings could be designed to be ecologically friendly. So all of his paintings and drawings are often about buildings and people and trees. He was obsessed with trees. And I've been living in Sheffield, and we also are obsessed with trees in Sheffield, especially as the council has been trying to chop them down, because we know that trees are really good for the environment, as they take out carbon emissions from the air. But he was one of the forefathers of this. He knew the power of ecology, and he knew that trees were really important. He held his first exhibition of his work in Vienna in 1952, and he became a very, let's get a colourful one as I'm talking to show you. I've got to avoid, there is a page of him nude as a nude protest that he did, so we're trying to avoid that page so I don't get into trouble this morning. So let's find one of his signature pieces for you. Let's have a look. I think these are some of his signature. He uses this motif of the face a lot that appears in his work, and his style of drawing is quite quirky. Can you see? Hi Dawn, lovely to see you. Oh, great. Oh, nice to see you, Dawn. So let me find, this is a classic one of his with the tree motif. He does lots of layering of colour. Can you see how he layers the tree motif and then over buildings? He's really interested in layering colours and texture. His work, although he was quite revolutionary because of his ecology thoughts at the time, and I think he even produced a compostable toilet and things, which was fantastic, which we're all turning to now. I used one the other day at Ed's churches, because my husband's a vicar and none of his churches have toilets, but one of them has put a compostable toilet in. So yes, it was very spider infested though, but it's very lovely. So he was an advocate for ecology, looking at plumbing, looking at all the way that we wire up houses, and thinking through how can we make that look beautiful as well as ecologically efficient. So let me just go to, oh, there's another classic one of his buildings. His work became very popular. It was put on Austrian postage stamps. Did miniature versions of his paintings. Clothes had been made in the style of his paintings. Flags. He often uses bright colours and natural organic forms. I'm a bit of a sucker for like having straight lines and everything looking perfect. But what's great about Hundertwasser is he like breaks out of that mould. He doesn't conform in his architecture or anything to straight lines. He just goes a bit freeform, and I want to show you some of that. So here's some of his architecture. Let me get rid of my post-it note. I I love the way he's got the straight forms in the windows, but then he's done these outlines in them that just, they kind of make your eye dance all over the place, and you can't really pinpoint one part to look at, which is usually different to architectural design, because there's usually a feature that they're trying to highlight, maybe by having columns, and then a part that they're drawing your eye away from that's more ugly but practical. But for Hundertwasser, he's even got trees growing out of the windows here and things. It's just, your eyes sort of dance around. Looking at that, I wonder which artist you think he might have been inspired by, or was it a similar time? I was thinking about it this morning, and one of my other favourite artists was Gaudi. So, well, Gaudi and René Mackintosh. And I dug out this morning. This is one of Gaudi's buildings in Barcelona, and you can see the kind of really organic shapes and the use of materials, and this kind of design that looks like a garlic clove. Hundertwasser uses in his buildings as well, so I think they were inspired by that kind of organic shape and using mosaicing. I don't know if any of you ever have mosaicked, but often even now when we mosaic, it's usually something quite flat, and it might be a coaster or something that's flat, but these guys use mosaic and tiles in a really innovative way, accentuate. One example I was really excited to go and see was the market hall that he designed in Switzerland. So this is the picture of when we went to see. My picture didn't turn up as well as this, but this was one, and you see the garlic clove type pavilion tops, and just how wonderfully quirky it is, the use of materials. So it's like a feast for the eyes, really. He uses all different techniques like we've just seen in the book. He's got straight windows, but then he kind of goes round them and gives this beautiful shape. Everything is not as it seems. It's some kind of creative magical dream. And his use of gold as well. I've got my gold lamp above me. Maybe I was inspired actually when we got this for our wedding when I picked it out. But I love this use of gold in amongst like the everyday textures. So it's just fantastic. So he became very popular. He uses lots of spiral shapes, that we find in shells as well, and natural shapes. He had very strong political views, which he was anti-totalitarian, if that's the right way of saying it, and he campaigned against the European Union because he thought it would eradicate regional variation. That's quite interesting, as we've just we're in the middle of Brexit at the moment too. He died in 2000 at the age of 71, but he'd settled in New Zealand over that time, and he got married twice, and got divorced twice, I think, but has a daughter who's the same, I think, a year older than me, so she's 37. Am I 30? Yeah. So let me show you one of my favourite pictures in here. I think, let's have a look. I love this one. The colours, again, you see the garlic, the bulbous shape, and the layering over, and I love his creative landscapes. So when he's describing a utopia, he uses bright colours, and when he's talking about dystopia or purgatory, he uses monochrome colours, which is quite interesting. So there's lots of symbolism in his work. This is another favourite, how he's incorporated the face but into fields and houses. The face motif comes through so many times in his work. So we're going to have a look at recreating that ourselves as well. So let's have a look. Oh, I'm trying to avoid the page of where he's in a nude protest. So let me just turn the book round so we can avoid that part. I think it's too early in the day to see that. So here's an example of his lovely tree designs. So everything he designed, he had like trees coming out of windows, like we saw on that other page. He had trees that were growing on top of buildings. I don't know how practical it is with the roots that can grow through concrete, but I wonder how some of his buildings in Vienna have survived. But I love it. I love the idea of having natural things in places you don't expect. In England, I think we're too boring and safe with our architecture. When I see his Hundertwasser's work, it just makes me go, yes, I'd love to live somewhere that looked like that, or design somewhere that looks like that. So, hi Anne, good morning, lovely to see you. I know Anne, you commented already that Hundertwasser was one of your favourite artists. Can you tell us what it is that you love about him so much? Is it his ecology or use of colour, or that he's quite eccentric? Let me know. So let's have a look. So there's another Gaudi. So you can see again that Gaudi and his work really overlaps in the style. This is like a dragon. This is like a part that's on top of one of his buildings in Barcelona. But let's have a look. So I just want you to dip in today to have a think about Hundertwasser. I want you to go away after this morning and I want you to go and Google him and have a look at all the different buildings he's created, and the different images. But we're going to do a little bit of Hundertwasser inspired art now. So I want you to grab some collage materials, maybe a pair of scissors, maybe paints. Hundertwasser never went anywhere without his paints. He always took his paints with him. And I love this set. I've bought it, I think, at the one of the galleries in London. And it's so compact. It's got like different layers. And it's great if you are out for the day. You can just do that. And it's so satisfying. All the layers come off. So you've got all the colours. And we're doing some packs. I'm going to do a hard sell. We're doing some packs at Artcore, and we'll do some little pop-up paint sets. So maybe this one could be one that we include in that, because they're fantastic. And you can get little plastic cases that your paintbrushes fit inside, and little pop-up canisters that you can pour water in. So Anne says she loves the colours, the shapes and the craziness. Yes, I think that was what I loved too. The fact that you don't know where your eyes are going to go with his work. It just takes you. His compositions aren't like a normal architect's. I don't know. He just looks at the world in such a different way. And it's just fantastic. It's just, for me, I think for my husband, who's a lateral thinker, he can't understand it. But for me, who loves creative shapes and colour, and it's just so inspiring. I think we should definitely do some work. Oh, it's 20 past, but do you like my paint box, Anne? We'll have to get some to sell at Artcore so that people can get a little set. They're really nice. I'm sure we can do them cheaper than the British Museum as well. I don't know, or for the time being, you might be able to get them online, but I'm not sure. I've not seen them before, apart from in like the British galleries. I think it was like £12 or something in the gallery. So what I've been doing this morning is I've got some Hundertwasser inspired work. So I just had a play with some watercolours this morning, and looked, he outlines everything in black. And he does these kind of layers of colour that drip into each other. I just love that. I'm not good at painting. That's not my medium. I work in metalwork. But he just really, I just had a play, and then I got some collage materials, and then I started to play over, because he layers up a lot of materials, so you might want to, got all sorts. I found a bit of foam, so you might want to have a play and start to think, oh, okay, let's have a go at, I think clashing colours is something that he does quite a lot. And faces, I don't know if you can see there, I've cut out a nose and a face inspired by him. So starting to layer up colours. I want you to do some Hundertwasser inspired artwork this morning, and then layering colour over things. So he has lots of blocks. He has detail as well as the blocks of colour, as well as incorporating faces and things that you wouldn't see. I think what we're missing here, though, is I've got a little bit of green. Let me have a look. I think he would have had a tree. Where's some green card? His trees are a bit like lollipop sticks. They were the opposite of what we try and get our participants doing at Artcore. We're trying to get people away drawing the classic lollipop for a tree. But Hundertwasser, being Hundertwasser, uses that motif, that childish motif, and he does lots of trees in this sort of style. But what he'd do is he'd layer it up on his work that he's doing, so it'd pop up in surprising places. So have a play this morning. I want you to go away, Google him, have a play, tell me which your favourite pictures are, tell me if you've ever visited, and yeah, and then send me pictures of your work. I'd love to see what you've been up to. I hope that inspired you a little bit this morning, and we've got a crafternoon with Iona Davies at 1 p.m. today, and our exciting artist takeover on Artcore Gallery is Catherine Borg. So I know Dawn's just come on, and Dawn, you're next to be roped in to do our artist takeover. But listen at 4 for our artist takeover and 1 p.m. for crafternoon. And have a good day. Take care.